Okay, so last week I was lucky enough to get Pip Jamieson on the podcast, and she is the founder of the Dots. She's one of those influential disruptors. They talk about people, 50 under 50 who are changing the way people do things. And the Dots is this online creative network for people to collaborate and to show their work and that kind of thing. I did something new this time, and I videoed it, which I've never done before. A bit of an experiment. Wasn't planning on doing it, and it was just out of the blue. I thought I'd give it a go, and it didn't quite work out as I planned. Everything was out of focus. Never really used the equipment for that before. But what the hell? There's some bad cuts in it. I thought I'd share it anyway. So here it is in glorious Shonkyvision. It's me interviewing the fabulous Pip Jamieson from the Dots. Alright, so I think that's working. Okay, so I'll do a little intro to camera. Alright, so the first time I videoed one of these, and I'm very lucky to be joined by Pip Jamieson, who is the founder of the Dots and has a very interesting history, and just quite lucky to get this opportunity. So thank you very much.
No, absolute pleasure.
So I suppose a little bit of background. I've looked at your Wikipedia page, and I think I was a member of the Dots very early on, so my profile was probably not right at the beginning, but pretty close to the beginning. And there seem to be a lot of sites like this. So your sort of profile says that you kind of saw there was no kind of online marketplace for creatives, right? But I mean, there are online portfolio sites and there are all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What did you think was missing?
Yeah, I think what was missing is all there was for professional networking was LinkedIn. So you've got portfolio sites like Behance, and great places to, I guess, promote your work.
Yeah.
But beyond there, it wasn't really connecting the dots. Sorry, I can't help myself.
Yeah, that's cool.
But everything I was passionate about was helping our community actually connect to things that were meaningful, and whether that was each other, whether that was a job, a freelance opportunity, collaboration opportunity, or actually getting support from other creators. So, what my vision has always been is the professional network, but for this creative industries generation. And I think the other thing is the big difference, I guess, between us and a number of the portfolio sites out there is everything we believe in is creativity is a team sport. And so the way the platform works is people post projects, but then credit the full team around those projects. But it's not just the creatives being credited, it's producers, project managers, account managers, people who kind of make those ideas happen. And so that's why I really just hated LinkedIn and wanted a better solution for the creative industries.
Well, I mean, it's really weird. LinkedIn is a very strange beast.
Yeah.
It just seems to be a kind of recruitment site, depending on how you use it. And other than that, I find there's a lot of kind of corporate bragging going on. And that kind of thing. And it's not a comfortable place to be as someone who's kind of studied the humanities, if you like. So
and it also feels like you have to be this suited, homogenous being to kind of succeed.
Absolutely.
It just and also if you're working more fluidly and not like this CV traditional based career, it just doesn't work. It's really tough for freelancers because you've just got freelance gig after freelance gig, and you're not really showing what you do behind the scenes. So.
Yeah, completely. And where do you fit into this? So your background, you started in government, David Blunkett, right? And then you went to MTV. And then you were in Australia for a while. And, so where is the creative element? Is there an artist in there trying to get out?
Yeah, it's so funny because I studied creative subjects, and actually my dad was in the creative industry, so my dad was in music, and there was kind of always this expectation that I'd go off and join the creative industries, and then my way of being a rebel is I went off and did maths and economics at uni, and I actually joined the fast stream civil service specifically for the Home Office because I just wanted to make the world a better place, and at the time I thought, government would be a brilliant place to use my skills, and it was all based around the time when it's the Blair government. It was all meant to be policy was meant to be based on evidence, and I was thinking, it's wonderful, cool, but I went into government and realised, it would take me at least 20 years to make a difference anywhere. Then I jumped ship into the creative industry. So I was working in Brit Awards and then MTV, various roles around the world.
That's really cool.
Total kind of hybrid career, I guess.
So how much of your career has been about kind of PR, and how much of it's about making new things and creating something?
Yeah, so my career's been really diverse. So
Yeah.
it started as an economist. So literally, I was doing, like, for example, when I developed the algorithm that measures drug harm in the UK.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
when someone
So working in
says,
public health and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
So when someone says the drugs cost the economy X amount of
Yeah.
money, that was actually an algorithm I created. So then when I was in the Brit Awards, it was like event management.
I mean, how do you go from creating algorithms for, you know, the economic cost of drugs into the Brit Awards?
Do you know what? I loved it. It was just, I love people.
Yeah.
And I found that, you know, I'm good at maths, but I love people and I love interactions. And
Yeah.
so I just loved it. It was this kind of sudden release from being stuck behind my computer, just working in spreadsheets all day.
I mean, have you ever had people that come to you and say, "But what do you do?"
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, I've had that, because I've been a journalist, I've been a photographer, I'm a copywriter, I write books.
Yeah.
But
all the time.
you know, whenever I've had sort of meetings with recruiters and stuff like that, they say, "But what do you do?" You know, and it's because you can't just pigeonhole yourself into one thing.
I'm a total slashy. Like, I just have been my entire life, and I mean, I think slashes are the future. I think that hybrid sort of way of work is what's going to kind of set us apart
So
from the machines.
like writer slash business
Writer
person
slash copywriter
yeah.
slash passion project slash
Yeah.
full, you know, part-time work. I'm just like, I think that fluidity in a career is actually really healthy. I think especially as we're entering a bit of an age of automation, you know, you know, there's, you know, robotics, we don't know what's going to happen with machine learning, we don't know what skills are going to replace. What we do know is there's three things machines don't do very well. They don't have common sense, they don't have empathy, and they can't mimic that human capability to be creative. But there will be certain roles that do get automated. So I think that kind of continuous learning slashy mentality means that you can kind of just fluidly work through the careers of the future. So I get really excited about slashies, multi-hyphen, whatever you call them.
Have you ever felt scared when you've gone from sort of a role in government into the Brit Awards and then over to MTV?
Yeah, I mean,
you know, what will people think? What am I doing here?
Yeah, I think the role from government to Brit Awards, it was just pure like excitement, young, think you can do everything. I think when I was younger, I thought I could do more.
So when was this? What was it during Britpop or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so this is just after Britpop. Okay. So this is, gosh, this was 2002, 2003. Okay. Yeah. And then literally, I think I was quite fearless when I was young, and I think I then, you know, made, as everyone does, like some few mistakes until you realise you're not invincible. And I think the real turning points for me, where the fear really hit in, is so for example, I was originally working at MTV in Australia, but I was working in business strategy roles, so I was helping kind of develop business models in their digital strategy. So you brought your kind of
economics
into creative industry. So for example, we were working like, there was no tech, what is digital? So we were trying to work out what would be the digital play for MTV. But I then developed the business model to launch MTV and Nickelodeon into New Zealand.
Okay.
And then I did something really weird and asked to applied to become the head of marketing.
Okay. Well, I guess there is that's a sideways move, isn't it?
Totally. So I mean, I'd never done I actually didn't even know what marketing was. They gave me the job, to their credit, because I was only 24. And I was literally flying to New Zealand to help launch a channel, but I was literally reading a dummy's guide to marketing in the plane, and you know, those are the moments where you just have to dig deep, and the fear was acute, but also I sort of learned that when you don't know something, it's actually sometimes better, because I didn't approach marketing with like the traditional marketing head. I approached it with, I guess, thinking about our community, but it was also as Facebook was emerging, MySpace, so I was kind of like really excited by this new tech, so I was like, how can I hack it?
And I suppose being a novice as well, you get to ask questions.
Yeah.
So you can say, how does this work?
Yeah.
What's that? And people know you're new at this, so they don't roll their eyes and sort of, you know, laugh in your face or anything. So.
And also you can just come up with crazy ideas because you think why anything is possible. So for example, when I was at MTV, I came up with the idea to have a gig in a flight.
Yeah, was it Dizzy Rascal?
Dizzy Rascal. Yeah. And so no one in the world had ever done it. And I just naively was like, okay, I have to get a load of competition winners from New Zealand to Australia. I've got no budget. I'm going to have to convince an airline to give me free tickets. Why don't we do a gig on the plane? And that was kind of how the thought process came. And I think it was that kind of naivety of, I hadn't had the traditional background, I didn't know that there were multiple layers you had to go through to get the signed off, and I just sort of naively, and by complete serendipity, and this is how small New Zealand is, sometimes our producer was sitting next to a senior leader at Air New Zealand, and next thing I'm having a meeting with him, next thing I'm convincing him to give me a plane for free and to fly Dizzy Rascal over to do a gig.
I mean, that's really interesting actually, because one of the things that I've always stumbled whenever I've been working on a project or anything like that, with marketing. So how much of marketing, I mean, it's pretty vital, isn't it? Whenever you're starting a project, marketing is key. You can have the best product in the world, but without marketing, it's not going to get anywhere. So how much of marketing is skill and expertise, and how much of it is the guy you're sitting next to and knowing the right people and knowing which doors to knock on?
I think marketing is something. It's an evolving skill. So I think it's actually the curiosity to learn, which is the most important thing. I think I mean, these days it obviously always helps having connections for certain things, but I think what I realised actually more with my journey with the Dots than I did at MTV, it was actually a real understanding of the data, and it's kind of what's actually driving adoption and how's that working. Because I think you can do loads of ideas, and I love ideas, but you actually have to hone what are the best ones that are for your product or your service. But I think most importantly, you just have to love what you do, and I think or love. I mean, I could never be a marketer for a product I don't believe in, because I think it's that, like, when you believe in it, it's kind of infectious as well.
So do you think that gives you the edge here at the Dots, because it's your project, isn't it? It's your kind of brainchild.
It's. I think so, and I think it's just, I've just got a lovely community that have kind of got back behind us, and I do have a brilliant data team who literally they live and breathe what we do every day. And
so you're talking sort of SEO analytics.
So SEO is massive for us. So I've got someone who literally just does SEO all the time. So if you search anyone's name on the Dots, we're at the top of search results, or if you search like photography jobs or creative direction jobs. So SEO has been one of our biggest ways.
So you started at the Dots, you had this idea. So it was your idea. It wasn't someone said, "Oh, I've got this idea, can you help me with it?"
No, but people say that to me all the time.
Why do you think that is?
No, they say that, it's so funny how many people I meet that go, "Oh, I had the idea for the Dots."
Oh, really?
It's so weird, because you're like,
But this is the thing. I mean, having an idea of one thing, but actually doing it is something else. Was there? I mean, were you looking for an idea at the time?
No, not at all. And it was definitely a co-founder idea. So it was, this is like my second business. So my first business was in Australia, which was like a mini version of the Dots. And that was called The Loop.
The Loop, that's it.
And so it basically came about with me and my co-founder then, Matt. We were both working at MTV. We both hated LinkedIn. We both were just frustrated where we didn't have a space for us to be. We just kind of, as all good ideas happen, we were just kind of down the pub chatting it through and working out what could it look like, just scamping up wireframes and just kind of bring it all together. But no, I was never one of those people that wanted to be an entrepreneur, I guess. It was never an aspiration. It sort of, I just saw a real world problem and then was like, I really want to solve that problem, and that's kind of how it came about.
Is The Loop still?
The Loop still goes. So
are you still involved in The Loop?
No, I'm not at all. Okay. So I ended up selling my shares in The Loop because Matt didn't want to expand internationally. So I ended up sharing that and then literally starting from scratch over here with everything I made in Australia.
So, because I mean, some people like me are looking for ideas all the time, and it's sort of kind of like a practice. You're constantly trying to come up with ideas. You're coming up with ideas and you're thinking, okay, these are all rubbish, but eventually I'll get to a good one. When you do come up with a good idea, how do you know it's a good idea worth following through with?
Oh God, do you know what?
How do you start? I mean,
how
do you start from nothing and build it?
The weirdest thing about the idea was it was just the one that didn't go away. And actually, interestingly, even when we'd scaled The Loop in Australia, it still wouldn't go away. So we had actually a really great business in Australia. We kind of had the market share over there. It was profitable. And so a sane person would probably go, okay, we've got a nice business here. But for me, I was like, this is too good not to go more. So I think for me, when I know I have a good idea, it's the one that kind of keeps niggling in my head, and the one that keeps going, we should do this. And actually events on the Dots is an example of that, because we had so many of our community were starting events. They were trying to, what we started seeing on the dots, so they were putting projects up as events to try and promote their events. And then we do our own events as well. So we do like portfolio masterclasses and these freelance speed recruitment events. And everyone was like, do more events, do more events. And I'm like, it's really hard to do events. So that was kind of how that, and it was just one of those things that was bubbling in my head.
So it's a kind of functionality that looks after itself in a way.
Yeah, because I knew there was an appetite for it, and I knew there was a demand, but I also didn't want it to be just like another event listing. So, you know, I started really chatting to the community of what are your pain points with events, and some of our community just found networking is quite tough, you know, and so quite shy going into a room when you don't know anyone. So that we were like, okay, let's make it really clear who's attending, so you can actually chat to people beforehand. And then everyone was having problems catching up with people post events, like, you know, people were either swapping business cards or writing down email addresses or whatever. So then we allow people to network post event as well. So so it's kind of just, I'm a big believer in co-collaboration as well. When I get an idea, it's kind of then start kind of chatting it through with the community and the people that I'm actually building it for, and working out, like, is this something that you'd find useful?
So how did that work with the dots? So you had this idea.
Yeah.
Were you already kind of into the community that it would serve already, or did you start reaching out to people?
No, so I spent, we spent about 6 months before the dots launch, literally meeting companies and people and getting people involved. So we had.
Did you have a prototype by then or anything?
Yeah, so we had so we had it, but we kind of, it's nothing like it.
Kind of rubbishy looking version of the new thing.
So it was just really being hands-on and finding out what their pain points. And so, for example,
going door to door.
For example, with the companies we got on, the first 100 companies, like, I met every single one. You basically had to convince them to join the site to hire talent when there was no one on the site. But I still go to company meetings, for example, because I love hearing what are their pain points, and then we can make sure we're improving the site for that. And then with the rest of the team, you know, I'm constantly at industry events, but we have actually part of their OKRs, which are an alternative to KPIs. We have that they have to come to industry events so that they learn about the community, because I think unless you're there and feeling it and feeling what people need and the pain points people have, you're sort of building something that's not for them.
Absolutely.
So I love that side of it.
So at the beginning it was just kind of grunt work, really. Just, we've got an idea.
Yeah.
I don't know who I'm going to work with. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
I just need to go and speak to people. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you think that's one of the secrets to success in a way?
I think perseverance.
You want to build something?
I think perseverance is I think, you know, I've raised investment, and I think one of the core things investors look for is someone that's going to persevere through the good and the bad times. I mean, we've had so many horrific times, you know, it's like a constant roller coaster of nightmares. You know, one day it's like, wait, this is amazing, the next day it's horrific. And so I think you have to persevere through those times, and I think linked to that is surrounding yourself with good people. You know, I genuinely love my team. And
I mean, do you have people on board who, when you're like, oh god, investors backed out, or the server's gone down, or something like that, you got people who just say, don't worry.
It's
okay.
They literally are. They'll say, we got this. They literally do say, we got this. So
we'll figure it out.
It's so magical, because I mean, we hire on values, and so one of the core values is positivity at the dots. And it's not positivity for positivity's sake. I want everyone to challenge me, but it's more people that are focused on solutions, not problems. And what's lovely about that, it means when the server goes down, which it does every now and again. Literally, it's no blame, it's no you know, it's literally let's work out what the problem is. And sometimes it's rogue code, sometimes it's actually the server company has gone down. I mean, there's no
plug out
So I wish it was that easy. But it was. So I think what's lovely is there's no blame, there's no let's just work out what's going on and let's kind of fix it and move on. And
I think that's vital, isn't it? I mean, and that's. I think the new, because you've been called a disruptor, and according to your Wikipedia, my research is, you know, so.
I'll tell you a secret, by the way. Wikipedia got my age wrong as well, which is
really?
So don't believe everything you read on Wikipedia.
That's cool. What is it, in a good way?
In a good way.
Okay, that's I wish someone would get my age wrong. But
please, no one correct it. It makes me.
I won't ask. Don't worry. But this whole thing about and I mean the blame game is very old school. And you still see it in old industries, which are rapidly being overtaken by new industries. And you see it in politics. But the whole kind of, well, let's not blame anyone, let's just fix it, is, I think, the new school, really, isn't it? And this is where being agile comes into it, and being focused on growth and value and benefit is really important.
And everyone makes mistakes, like, you know, and I brought the server down, probably half the team has brought the server down at some point. I mean, everyone makes mistakes, and you know, that's like the nature of innovation. If you're not making mistakes, you're not really challenging yourself. So absolutely. I definitely always was obsessed about building an environment where people could make mistakes and feel comfortable, but also that we learn from them and we don't repeat them. So it's kind of that, that is, absolutely. We're always having that reflection period afterwards of, okay, so why did this go wrong, and how can we make sure we try and fix that?
Seth Godin is one of my...
I love him.
I mean, he's a character, but he's comes out with some really wise stuff, doesn't he? And one of the things on his daily post recently was, you really want to be hanging around with people who fail a lot, because they're the people who are trying new things, and they're building stuff, and they're, like you say, as long as they're learning, that's where it's going, isn't it? It's going forwards, so that's the main thing.
If you're not failing, you're just copying someone else, because there's no, you're
just not doing anything.
It's a whole new path. If you're on a new path, you're going to fail. It's just about picking yourself up again.
Or you just stay meek, don't build anything, just keep quiet.
That's true, which is fine too. I think like, you know, there's so much, I work with lots of female founders now, and you know, there's this expectation we all have to go for, you know, to be the next LinkedIn, which is kind of my vision. It's fine to not be. It's what makes you happy, I think, is the most important thing.
Well, I think as well, talking of age, you get to a certain age, and you know, as a creative, a lot of creatives, they struggle and they struggle and struggle, and you get to a certain age where you think, actually, I've worked hard and I've worked long enough, and actually I'd like some comfort, and I'd like some reward, and I'd like to just not be punishing myself day in, day out to try and get somewhere, you know. So it's, that is fair enough. Okay, so what are some of the biggest obstacles you've faced in any of your projects that you've...
I think I mean, founding the DOS is definitely, obviously, the biggest obstacle. I mean, it's, you know, it's really tough kind of building something from scratch, building a team, retaining a team, building a product people love, and raising investment to fund that product. So it's just the most insane. I mean, I wouldn't give it up for the world. I absolutely love it. But it is a roller coaster.
Were there times where you were just like, no, I can't do this?
I mean,
what's the point?
I mean, raising investments is a hideous process. I mean, it's hideous for any founder. It's a necessary evil of tech businesses. It doesn't have to be for other businesses. I would highly recommend making sure you really want to take on investment before you do. I think taking on shareholders is a bit like, you know, going into a marriage without the benefit of make-up sex, basically. It's very... I mean, that was a really grueling process. I mean, just to put it into context, I mean, it's hard for any founder, but for female founders, only 9% of angel funding goes to women, and only 2.3% of my level goes to women. So
is that because you think women are put off by the process?
It's
so hostile to women?
Very complex. So I mean, there's so many reasons. One, investors are primarily male, so they tend to bias their investment decisions to products that they understand. There's less women who've done computer science degrees, so I'm a non-tech founder who started a tech business.
So why don't you just kind of team up with tech people?
I've got an amazing engineering team and product design data team, but and luckily a lot of the most forward-thinking investors now realise that actually it's more important a founder can build a team than be a coder themselves, because that's fine while you're...
Move on to the kind of leading towards the end of the conversation, but that question, those obstacles that you sort of come up against, how many of those obstacles are kind of internal, personal obstacles? Like, is this too big for me? What if it goes wrong? What if it doesn't work out? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, weirdly, I feel I've been really lucky, and the reason being is I'm very dyslexic. So the first major obstacle I ever had in my life, it hit me when I was 7, and so that was like school seemed to be doing fine, and then suddenly something happened and I had no idea what was going on. And so I literally throughout my school years had to basically graft and work out how to learn, and how to sort of with my different brain, which I have come to believe was my superpower, but with that, how was I going to learn to read, write, communicate, all those things? So I feel like when I reflect on my career now, I was really lucky to go through that at a really early stage, because I mentor a number of female founders now, and we all have imposter syndrome, men, women, but it can be particularly acute in women. And I feel like some of the things that they go through are some of the things that luckily, like almost having my dyslexia trained me for in a strange sort of way.
So you're no stranger to those challenges. And
well, I learned that if you work hard and you put your mind to something, you can achieve anything. And so, but I learned that very young. And so, but I also learned that you have to fail a lot. And I standing up in class and trying to read, I just couldn't do it. And so I was constantly failing, constantly doing badly in exams, but I was kind of having to pick myself up and learn again. And I think that process taught me that anything is possible. And so when I talk to female founders now, it's very much around, like, it is sometimes ourselves that are holding ourselves back. And I was kind of luckier to get a bit of training. It's not like I have self-doubt all the time. It's slightly less acute than... but whenever I'm hitting something where I'm like, I don't get this, I turn to books, podcasts and mentors. And I've always, I think because I've always, when I was young, had to ask for help, I'm very comfortable being a senior and also asking for help. So that sort of really helped me in those later years.
But you have quite a decent kind of status now, a good standing in the kind of what did Sadiq Khan? You worked with Sadiq Khan on the Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
What was that called?
Silicon Valley meets the UK or something.
So you have a lot of respect, so you can reach out to people now. But say I'm a guy. I've got an idea for a company or a launch or something amazing, and I've got no money. No one knows who I am, but it's a brilliant idea. But I'm doubting myself. How do you get over that?
Yeah, it's funny because when I first started my first business, actually, I think I was so scared of what my friends would think in terms of if it failed. And actually, for a long time, we didn't even talk to people about the business. So we were kind of trying to do it a bit in, I guess, stealth mode or whatever. And it was that leap was one of the hardest leaps, is like, what to do next. And actually, I then thought, okay, so what is the worst that can happen? I literally sat down and wrote, what is the worst that can happen? And I was thinking, oh, well, someone on Twitter might say something nasty, or a friend might say something nasty. And then I was like, if that's the worst that could happen, I mean, in the end, the people that love me most, if I fail, they'll just be really proud that I've given it a shot. My family, my friends. And if there's people that aren't, then I don't really want to know them anyway. So they're not very nice people. So weirdly, once I sort of like started thinking in that way and going, well, what is the worst that could happen? And I think the other fear that you have is you start a business and you hire people and something goes wrong and you have to let them go. So the other fear I then got over was that I'm just really transparent with my team. My team know everything. They know how much cash is in the bank. They know how much revenue we're doing. They know where we're at any one time. Because my other fear would be like one day I'll have to walk in and do that horrific, like, it's all over, folks.
Yeah. I've been on the receiving end of that as well.
And I just,
nice.
that would be my like hell. But I mean, but once I got over that and the fact that we're completely transparent, but also I do have the luxury that, we work with over 20,000 companies that use the dots to hire. I literally, if that was ever a situation, I'd walk every member of my team around town and make sure they got a job. That's like, which company do you want to work for? I'm going to get you there. So those are the things that sort of like the fears that held me back. And I think it's just creative thinking. It's like when you're having these horrific moments, which you do, how can you come up with solutions to avoid that?
Because sometimes when stuff does go wrong, it can be like the walls are coming in and you just can't see. You've got no tunnel vision, and it's kind of paralysing.
Yeah.
So, and I think sometimes that same fear can happen right at the beginning.
Yeah. When
you got the idea and you're about to kind of stick your head above the parapet or whatever, and it can be terrifying. But I suppose, you worked in government, pretty terrifying. I mean, that must have been a big thing as well, to jump on that fast track program and suddenly be
Yeah, I mean,
You
it
know,
was
in
full
one-
on, especially
yeah.
when you're dyslexic. So back then I wasn't even talking about my dyslexia, so I'm really
Yeah.
open about my dyslexia now, like my email signature says delightfully dyslexic, excuse typos.
Yeah.
But back then, I was terrified that
You'd be found
I'd
out.
be found out
Yeah.
as dyslexic, so that was horrific, because I was like sending stuff off to my boyfriend at the time, now husband, and just getting him to proof it, and it was just, I was in this crazy, I was more scared of being rumbled that
Yeah,
I
that's
was
interesting.
dyslexic than anything else.
Because I mean, a lot of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You're worried about being found out, but
Yeah.
actually you're not an imposter at all. You are good at what you do because
Yeah.
you're doing it.
Yeah.
But when you have something like
Yeah.
dyslexia, that you are genuinely
Yeah.
frightened about
Yeah.
people finding out about,
Yeah.
which of course, any forward-thinking organisation wouldn't have a problem with it at all. But it's a fear, isn't it? And how do you cope with that on a
Well,
day-to-day
again,
basis?
weirdly, something like the simplicity of having delightfully dyslexic, excuse typos on my emails, suddenly removed a massive fear
Yeah.
for me. Because suddenly I realised what happened is I was sending misspelled emails, and people would look at them and go, oh, or what I was worried about is people would look at them and go, oh, you're an idiot. But actually, what happens now, or what maybe I perceive happens now, I don't know if it actually happens, is people look at it and go, oh, she's dyslexic, I get it. And weirdly, just having those kind of little things that I've brought into my life, again, I guess it's transparency and honesty, has meant that I'm just out there sending emails, witches and witches, I totally miss up.
Yeah.
So, always witches on broomstick. I don't know why, my brain can't work
But
it out.
I don't think it matters. If
Yeah.
you're a professional, good at what you do, and competent, and the results speak for themselves, then that's important, isn't it? That's where the respect needs to come from, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to start finishing that now. But so, if there were people out there who they look at you as a role model and they say, I want to do that, what advice can you give them?
I think
what's the difference between someone who does something and builds something and someone who doesn't?
I think emotionally for me it's been to surround myself with cheerleaders and avoid the drains. So, when I was starting a business, there'd be people like, oh, that's a stupid idea, or you can't start a business, or that classic, they give you the stats, most businesses fail, and all that kind of stuff. And I think I've just been careful now to surround on my personal life. People are like, we're proud of you, you can do it, it's amazing what you're doing, and I'm very lucky I've got a really supportive husband who's sort of there as my therapist in the background. But someone said, actually it's an amazing guy called Claude Williams who runs something called Dream Nation, and he said something that stuck with me always, which is, you are the 5 people you hang out with most.
Yeah, and that's been, Jim Rohn said the same thing. It's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want to surround yourself with people who are achieving at a higher level than you, so they bring you up, and that's amazing.
And I'm so lucky because I've got amazing mentors, which have taken me years to build up, Hegs. But I'm also part of some very close founder groups now, that we're at kind of similar levels. It's kind of a bit like founder therapy.
It's a bit like a mastermind group.
We all sort of sit there going, oh my gosh, what happened today? And try and help each other and pass the line. So I found that really useful, because it can be a bit lonely being a founder. You're on your own.
Are they founders of a similar kind of organisation where it's in a Shoreditch kind of co-working space?
No, so they're all tech,
Okay.
but they've all raised kind of 3 or more million, and they're all at kind of what you'd call, I guess, there's start-up and scale-up, so we're all at scale-up level, but some are in kind of health machine learning, or loads of different, with actually different industries, but a lot of the problems founders face are quite similar,
so
scaling,
you kind of say,
team, all
what
that
to do here? Someone help me, and someone will say, oh, well, what I did is this.
Exactly, and it's all based on, you can't give advice, you have to just talk about when you went through it, because people are quite good at giving advice, but if they don't know, if you haven't been through it, you don't really know. So, and actually we talk about personal stuff a lot, because what's happening in our personal life, a parent is sick, or having problems with a partner, can really challenge our professional life. So funnily enough, while we're all kind of scaling these businesses, I'd say 50-50 it's personal as much as business, because you can't, they're intrinsically linked.
But you can't allow that to influence your performance.
No, well, for me, I don't mind. If I'm having a bad day, I'll just tell the team. It's more that I would not ever want to if I'm having a tough time, make my team's life tough. So it's kind of more coping mechanisms for that. I mean, so yeah, we chat through stuff like that, and it's actually just it's founders therapy basically.
Well, that's great, yeah. Absolutely. So you think having kind of mastermind group of cheerleaders is a good idea?
Yeah, I think I've got my cheerleaders, which are kind of all my personal friends, who are kind of like friends, family, who are kind of the cheerleaders behind the scenes. And then I've got kind of my professional groups who are where I can talk about challenges of a founder, which, I mean, bless my husband, he's amazing, but actually understanding what a founder does day to day is quite hard. So it's good having that as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for giving up your time. I really appreciate it. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. Not exactly the professional outcome I was hoping for, but you got to share these things anyway, haven't you? So I didn't want to put any effort into it in terms of music or editing properly, because it was, all out of focus and stuff, but I thought I'd share it because it's part of the process, isn't it? So anyway, I've learned a lot from that, and next time will be better, but I hope you enjoyed that. And you know what, it's better just to listen to the audio this time around. Hopefully next time the video will be worthwhile. All right, cheers for that. Bye for now.